My beloved child, there is something you have sensed without fully understanding it, something subtle in the atmosphere around the connection you carry in your heart. You may have tried to dismiss it, perhaps telling yourself you were imagining the tension, overthinking the silence, reading too deeply into small changes. But what you felt was not your imagination. It was discernment. It was your spirit recognizing that someone around your person had begun moving with intentions that were not pure, and though you did not have all the details, your heart knew when something shifted. Stay with this, because what is being revealed now is not meant to wound you, but to show you how deeply protected your path truly is. There is a woman in your person's environment, someone who sees them more often than you realize, someone who learned their habits, their schedule, the way they smile when they are comfortable, the way they carry stress when something is weighing on them. She watched longer than anyone noticed, quietly, carefully, and somewhere along the way, admiration turned into desire, and desire turned into obsession with possessing what was never hers to reach for. At first, she convinced herself it was harmless, just innocent attention. Just harmless closeness. Just friendly conversation that lingered a little too long. But intentions reveal themselves over time, and eventually even what is hidden begins to leak through the cracks. Your person noticed something was changing, though perhaps not immediately. They sensed conversations becoming more personal than appropriate, compliments arriving with undertones that felt unfamiliar. Excuses being created for unnecessary closeness, small moments designed to test boundaries while pretending nothing unusual was happening. And what makes this even more significant is that your person may have initially tried to give grace, because not everyone expects betrayal to arrive wearing friendliness. Not everyone realizes someone is crossing a line until the line is already behind them. But then, she crossed it. Not in some loud, obvious way that everyone instantly saw. No, it happened in a moment she believed would stay hidden. A private overreach. A calculated act. Something done under the illusion that no one would notice, that no consequence would follow, that what she wanted mattered more than what was right. She assumed secrecy would protect her. She assumed desire would justify her actions. She assumed if she moved carefully enough, she could take what did not belong to her and never be confronted. But there is a truth many forget until life teaches it the hard way: what is done in shadows does not remain there forever. Because the moment she crossed that boundary, the moment her intentions moved from subtle to undeniable, everything began shifting around her. Not dramatically at first. Quietly. Strange interruptions. Awkward exposure. Sudden changes in energy. Plans not unfolding the way she expected. Opportunities slipping through her hands. The very atmosphere around her efforts began resisting her. Why? Because when someone interferes where they were never meant to interfere, consequences often begin long before anyone speaks them aloud. And your person, they saw more than she realizes. That is the part she never anticipated. She thought she was being smooth. She thought her manipulation was hidden beneath charm. She thought if she framed everything as casual enough, no one would question her motives. But discernment sharpened in your person. They began noticing patterns. The way she inserted herself too often. The way her tone changed when certain subjects came up. The way she subtly tested emotional waters that should never have been touched. The way her energy carried expectation instead of respect. Listen carefully, because this matters. Your person may not have spoken to you yet about what they noticed. They may still be processing it privately. They may be trying to understand how someone they once viewed as harmless became someone they now must distance themselves from. But make no mistake, their eyes are open now. And once someone sees hidden motives clearly, the illusion can never fully return. Here is what you must understand: this was never truly about attraction alone. It was about competition. Some people do not simply want affection, they want validation through conquest. They want to prove they can be chosen even where they were never invited. They confuse attention with victory. They mistake disruption for power. But when a person acts from ego instead of sincerity, eventually their own behavior exposes them. And exposure is already beginning. There are whispers now, subtle shifts in how others perceive her, conversations behind closed doors, raised eyebrows at patterns previously ignored. People are starting to connect moments they once dismissed. Because when someone repeatedly moves with hidden agendas, eventually the pattern becomes too obvious to deny. She is discovering that one reckless decision can unravel the image she worked hard to maintain. But this message is not about her downfall. It is about your reassurance. Because while she was focused on trying to create confusion, something else was happening behind the scenes. Your person was being shown contrast. They were being forced to see the difference between artificial attention and genuine connection, between someone who chases for ego and someone who loves with sincerity, between manipulation and peace. Sometimes clarity does not come through comfort. Sometimes it comes when someone false enters the picture and reveals, by comparison, what real loyalty actually looks like. That is why this season has felt strange. Why delays have occurred. Why emotions have seemed heavier than usual. There has been more moving behind the scenes than you realized. Not everything that looked like distance was rejection. Some of it was your person wrestling with realizations they were not ready to admit aloud. Some of it was them recognizing how many distractions had surrounded them, and how careful they now need to be with who they allow near their heart. Don't skip this part, because something important is waiting for you here. The reason this crossed your path was not to make you insecure, not to make you fearful, not to convince you others can take what is meant for you. It happened so you could witness a deeper truth. What is aligned for you cannot be stolen through manipulation. Interference may create delays. It may create noise. It may create temporary confusion. But what is real survives what is false. And your person is learning that now in a way they will never forget. They are beginning to understand who truly brings peace into their life, and who only brings pressure. Who respects boundaries, and who attempts to bend them. Who is safe, and who simply wears a convincing mask. That realization is changing how they see everything. Slowly, yes. Quietly, yes. But powerfully. There may soon come a moment when your person opens up more than expected. A confession. A revelation. A truth about what has been happening around them that they previously kept to themselves. And when that moment comes, you may be shocked by how much they noticed, how much they withheld while trying to sort through it internally, how long they have been watching and evaluating before deciding what to do next. Because despite appearances, they were never as blind as others assumed. And here is the part many do not expect. This situation has not pushed your person away from what matters. It has done the opposite. It has made them more aware of what they do not want, more protective of what they value, more intentional about where they place their emotional energy. Sometimes interference accidentally strengthens the very bond it hoped to weaken, because it exposes what was genuine all along. Let that sink in. What she meant to use as disruption may become the reason your person finally stops hesitating, the reason they set stronger boundaries, the reason they stop entertaining unclear dynamics, the reason they recognize that peace is more valuable than attention, and authenticity more valuable than temptation. She thought she was creating an opening. Instead, she may have accelerated a realization. And somewhere deep down, your spirit sensed this turning point before your mind had words for it. That restlessness you felt. That unexplainable knowing. That subtle pressure in your chest when something seemed off, though no one had told you anything? It was not random. You were perceiving movement before evidence arrived. This is why you must trust your discernment more. Not every intuition is paranoia. Not every pause is overthinking. Sometimes your spirit notices shifts before circumstances make them visible. Sometimes what you just feel is your awareness catching what logic has not yet confirmed. And now confirmation is coming. Slowly, steadily, undeniably. Your person is pulling back from energies that once distracted them, watching more carefully, trusting less easily, evaluating everyone around them through a new lens. And the woman who crossed the line is beginning to realize something painful. Attention forced through strategy never compares to connection built through truth. She may still attempt one final effort, one last subtle move, one last test to see if she can regain the control she thought she had, but it will not unfold the way she imagines. Because once someone reveals their motives, every future action is viewed differently. Every smile feels calculated. Every word is filtered through suspicion. Every innocent gesture loses innocence. That is the consequence of crossing lines. Trust, once broken, does not easily return. So if you have felt discouraged, if you have wondered whether unseen interference was stronger than your connection, if you feared someone else's presence meant you were losing what mattered, hear this clearly. What is being exposed now is not the triumph of another person. It is the collapse of illusion. And when illusion collapses, truth gets louder. Your person is seeing more, feeling more, understanding more. And very soon, their next decisions may reflect that in ways you have been waiting to witness. But this is only the beginning. Because what happens after exposure, what your person chooses once all masks are removed, what truths rise to the surface when pretense can no longer survive. That changes everything. And the moment that choice arrives, no one involved will leave unchanged. What your person has not said aloud yet, is that the moment everything shifted, it did not happen with noise, it happened with a look. A single moment. A brief exchange that lasted only seconds on the surface, yet carried enough truth to change the entire way they saw her. She thought she was being subtle. She believed her actions could still be disguised as harmless, that if she smiled while crossing the boundary, if she softened her voice while testing limits, if she wrapped bold intentions inside playful behavior, no one could call it what it truly was. But there comes a moment in every false performance when the mask slips. And when it slipped, your person saw something in her eyes they had never seen before, not friendliness, not kindness, not innocence, but calculation, intention, expectation, a quiet belief that if she kept pressing long enough, eventually she would wear their resistance down. And in that instant, your person understood everything. Stay with this, because the realization that followed shook them more than anyone knows. It is one thing to discover that someone likes you. It is another thing entirely to realize someone has been strategically positioning themselves in your life while pretending not to. That is what unsettled your person most. Not simply that she was interested, but that she had hidden it beneath layers of performance, manipulating access while acting as though every interaction was accidental. Suddenly, old memories began replaying in your person's mind. Conversations that felt slightly off. Moments of unnecessary closeness. Questions that seemed too personal. Coincidences that no longer looked like coincidences at all. And once they began connecting those pieces, the full pattern became impossible to ignore. They realized she had been moving with intention for longer than they first understood. That realization created distance inside your person before it created distance in action. They withdrew mentally first. They became quieter around her, more reserved, less responsive to the emotional cues she once relied on. And she noticed. Of course she noticed. People who play games are often highly sensitive to changes in access. The moment someone stops feeding their strategy, they panic. The moment attention shifts away, they scramble to recover control. So when your person pulled back even slightly, she did not gracefully retreat. She intensified. Her energy became bolder, more desperate, more obvious. She began trying harder to insert herself into moments where she did not belong, finding reasons to extend conversations, creating unnecessary dependency, presenting herself as the one who understood your person better than others did, offering support that was never requested, testing whether emotional vulnerability could become her doorway when flirtation had failed. Because when one tactic stops working, people driven by ego often switch methods rather than surrender. But what she did not realize was that every extra move only confirmed your person's suspicions. Sometimes the downfall of manipulation is impatience. If she had stepped back, perhaps doubt might have lingered. Perhaps your person would have wondered if they were overanalyzing. But instead, her persistence became proof. Her inability to respect boundaries exposed her more than any confession ever could. And your person saw something deeper in that moment. This was not attraction built on mutual connection. This was attachment built on entitlement. She did not simply admire them, she felt she deserved access to them. That realization changed everything. Because admiration can be flattering. Entitlement is disturbing. Your person began to feel something they had not expected, disappointment. Not anger at first, not outrage, just deep disappointment. Because they had likely trusted her as a friend, colleague, or harmless presence. They had likely believed her intentions were genuine. And to realize that someone had been disguising personal agenda behind fake innocence? That creates a particular kind of disillusionment. The kind that makes someone rethink every past interaction. The kind that makes them wonder how long the performance had been going on. The kind that makes them question who around them is truly sincere. And if your person seemed emotionally distant during this time, understand why. They were not just processing her actions. They were processing betrayal of perception. They were realizing that someone they allowed near them had not been what they pretended to be. But listen closely now, because this next part matters more than you know. In the middle of all this confusion, your person began comparing energies. Without even trying to, they started noticing the difference between what felt forced and what felt real. They noticed how draining manipulative attention feels when compared to peaceful connection. How loud false pursuit feels when compared to quiet sincerity. How exhausting it is to be around someone always angling for more. How valuable emotional safety becomes once it is contrasted against pressure. And whether they have told you or not, those comparisons have led their thoughts toward you. Because sometimes a person does not fully appreciate peace until chaos attempts to imitate love. Something important is waiting for you in that realization. This entire disruption, this uncomfortable exposure, this interference, this crossing of lines, may be the very event that sharpens your person's understanding of what they truly value. Not in theory, not in fantasy, in reality, through lived contrast, through seeing firsthand how quickly attraction becomes ugly when it lacks integrity, through realizing that chemistry without character means nothing. Through understanding that not everyone who shows interest deserves access. And now, they are becoming more protective than before. Protective of their peace. Protective of their boundaries. Protective of the connections they know carry depth. She thought she was creating closeness. Instead, she taught your person discernment. And perhaps what unsettles her most now is this. Your person no longer looks at her the same. Even when they remain polite. even when they maintain professionalism, even when no confrontation has happened publicly. The atmosphere has changed. She can feel it. She knows something has shifted. She knows the warmth she once relied on is gone. She knows the dynamic no longer bends in her favor. And because she senses her control slipping, her behavior may become even more erratic before this fully ends. Do not be surprised if truths surface in unexpected ways. People under pressure often expose themselves further. Desperation makes hidden motives sloppy. Pride makes people overplay their hand. There may be a conversation soon, one that forces boundaries into the open. A moment where your person calmly but firmly makes it clear that what happened was inappropriate. A moment where distance becomes official rather than implied. A moment where she is left with no room to pretend she'd misread signals, or meant nothing by it. And though it may not happen dramatically, it will be enough. Enough to close the door. Enough to end the ambiguity. Enough to make the consequences undeniable. And when that happens, your person will not emerge unchanged. Because standing up to false energy transforms people. It teaches them where they have been too passive. It shows them where they have tolerated too much. It reveals the cost of ignoring intuition. It strengthens their standards moving forward. This is part of their growth. But there is another layer to this story that you must understand. She was not only drawn to your person. She was threatened by what she sensed your person felt elsewhere. Whether she knew details or not, whether your connection had a label or not, whether your person openly discussed you or not, she could sense there was someone or something in their heart she could not compete with. And that unsettled her. Because people who chase validation are often less interested in love than in winning. She did not simply want attention, she wanted to be chosen over what already mattered. She wanted to prove she could disrupt something meaningful. She wanted the satisfaction of being the exception. But what she failed to understand is this: you cannot compete with what is rooted deeply. You cannot outperform genuine alignment with strategy. You cannot manufacture belonging where there is none. And now she is learning that the hard way. Your person may not have all their feelings sorted yet. They may still be processing. They may still be quieter than you wish. They may still have inner work to do before they express everything clearly. But one thing is becoming undeniable: they are recognizing who in their life creates peace, and who creates confusion. That recognition is sacred. Because many people spend years entertaining distractions before learning that lesson. Your person is learning it now, and while you may have wondered why timing has felt delayed, why progress seemed stalled, why emotional clarity took so long, part of the answer is this: certain illusions had to collapse first. Some distractions had to expose themselves. Some masks had to fall. Some false options had to reveal their emptiness. Only then could your person see with unclouded eyes. Do not underestimate the importance of that process. Sometimes what feels like delay is refinement. Sometimes what feels like stagnation is discernment forming. Sometimes what feels like silence is someone internally sorting truth from noise. And if your heart has been asking, was this interference stronger than what we share? The answer is no. It only revealed what was never real to begin with. What is real does not need manipulation. What is real does not push where it is unwelcome. What is real does not disguise pursuit as friendship. What is real honors boundaries rather than testing them. Your person sees that now, and because they see it, their standards are changing. They will not move through relationships the same after this. They will not trust surface charms so easily. They will not ignore subtle discomfort as quickly. They will not assume everyone around them has clean motives. And perhaps most importantly, they will value authenticity more than ever before. There is a version of your person emerging from this situation that is wiser, sharper, more emotionally aware than before. A version who understands the difference between being wanted and being valued. A version who knows that not every admirer deserves access. A version who is learning that peace is the rarest form of attraction. That version of them is getting closer. to the surface. And when they fully step into it, the choices they make may surprise you. Because once someone sees clearly, they stop entertaining confusion. They stop keeping unnecessary people close. They stop delaying decisions they once feared making. They stop pretending not to know what their spirit already understands. You may soon witness your person choosing distance where they once tolerated proximity, choosing honesty where they once delayed difficult conversations, choosing depth over distraction, choosing peace over performance. And if that happens, understand this moment was part of what shaped it. Nothing here was random. Not the exposure, not the discomfort, not the timing, not the revelation. It all served a purpose. Because sometimes a false person enters only to force clarity. Sometimes interference appears only to make truth undeniable. Sometimes the wrong energy reveals the right one by contrast. And your person is standing at that threshold now, between confusion and clarity, between tolerance and standards, between old habits and new awareness. But there is still one final piece yet to unfold. Because though your person has seen the truth, though they have pulled back internally, though the dynamic has changed beyond repair, there is something she still does not know. She believes this is merely awkward tension. She believes time will smooth it over. She believes if she waits long enough, perhaps your person will forget. Perhaps distance will soften. Perhaps another opportunity will arise. She has no idea how deeply your person has already made up their mind. And when she finally realizes that the door has truly closed, when she understands the access she took for granted is gone for good, when she sees your person's energy no longer available to her in any form, that is when the full weight of her actions will hit. Not because anyone will punish her, not because revenge is coming, not because drama must erupt, but because losing access to what she tried to force, while realizing she caused that loss herself, will become consequence enough. And your person? They will walk away with clearer vision than ever before, toward truth, toward peace, toward what actually matters. But the deeper realization they are having about you, about this connection, about why no distraction ever fully replaced what they feel, that truth is only beginning to rise. And when it fully surfaces, nothing between you will remain the same. There is something your person has been trying not to admit, even to themselves. Ever since that situation exposed what was hidden, their thoughts have not simply returned to normal. They have not just moved on and forgotten. No, the entire experience unsettled them in a deeper way than they expected, because once someone is forced to confront false intentions around them, they begin reevaluating every connection in their life through a sharper lens. And in that reevaluation, one truth keeps returning to them no matter how much they try to set it aside: the peace they feel when they think of you is different. It always has been. They may not have fully understood it before. They may have taken it for granted, dismissed it, or assumed there would always be more time to sort through their feelings later. But now, later no longer feels guaranteed in the way it once did. Stay with this, because the realization forming inside them is far more powerful than you know. What shook your person most was not merely that someone crossed a line. It was the realization that people can stand near you, smile at you, support you publicly, and still carry motives you never asked for beneath the surface. That lesson changed the way they see trust. It made them understand how rare genuine sincerity truly is. And when someone begins recognizing how uncommon authenticity has become, they naturally start thinking about the few people who have always felt real. The few people whose energy never felt forced. The few people who never needed games, strategy, or manipulation to matter. Your name, whether spoken aloud or held silently in their heart, has been returning to them in those moments more often than you realize. They remember the ease of your connection, the comfort, the honesty, the way being around you never felt like performance, the way they did not have to second guess every word, every intention, every hidden agenda. In a world where so many people wear masks, that kind of peace becomes unforgettable once contrasted against deception. And now that contrast has become impossible for them to ignore. This is why your person may seem quieter than usual, more introspective, more emotionally serious. They are not simply reacting to what happened, they are rethinking what truly matters. They are asking themselves difficult questions they once avoided. Who has always been genuine with me? Who do I trust when life becomes complicated? Who feels safe? Who feels real? Who has remained steady even when circumstances were uncertain? And every time those questions rise, your presence rises with them. But here is where the story deepens. Your person is also confronting regret, because clarity often arrives carrying a painful companion, the awareness of what should have been valued sooner. They are beginning to reflect on moments where they may have held back with you, times they kept emotional distance, times they hesitated when they should have spoken, times they remained uncertain when their heart already knew more than they were willing to admit. They are seeing how much energy they wasted entertaining confusion, tolerating distractions, delaying honesty, while something genuine remained in front of them the entire time. That realization humbles a person. It softens pride. It dissolves denial. It forces truth to the surface. And your person is being softened by that truth right now. They may not rush immediately. They may still need time to process everything they are learning internally. Because real emotional awakenings are rarely loud at first, they happen in quiet moments, in private thoughts, in sleepless reflections, in the subtle ache of realizing your heart has been pointing somewhere for a long time while your mind kept postponing the journey. Something important is waiting for you here. The same situation that exposed false intentions around your person is also exposing their true feelings within themselves. What began as interference is becoming revelation, because once distractions lose their shine, once false admiration reveals its emptiness, once forced attention becomes uncomfortable instead of flattering, a person starts asking themselves, if none of that is what I want, then what do I want? And your person is arriving at an answer, not quickly, not recklessly, but undeniably. They are realizing they do not crave attention. They crave peace. They do not crave flattery. They crave sincerity. They do not crave temporary excitement. They crave something that feels grounded, safe, and real. They crave what your connection represents. That is why the emotional gravity between you has been intensifying beneath the surface, even if external circumstances have not fully shown it yet. Inner decisions often happen long before outer actions catch up. A heart can choose truth before a mouth finds courage to speak it. A soul can know before circumstances rearrange. And your person is in that knowing now. Yet there is still tension inside them, because clarity can be frightening when it demands action. It is one thing to realize who matters. It is another to accept the vulnerability required to move toward them honestly. Your person understands that if they step forward now, they cannot do it halfway. They cannot hide behind ambiguity anymore. They cannot pretend not to care while acting like they do. They cannot continue leaving things unsaid simply because honesty feels risky. And that is what they are wrestling with. The fear of vulnerability versus the weight of silence. Because silence has become heavier than before. Thinking of you no longer feels casual to them. Missing you no longer feels ignorable. Wondering, what if, no longer feels harmless. The feelings they once kept compartmentalized are becoming harder to contain. Do you understand what that means? It means movement is building. Internal pressure always becomes external action eventually. A truth deeply felt cannot remain buried forever. A heart repeatedly pulled in one direction eventually stops resisting. Your person is nearing that threshold. Soon, they may begin showing signs before speaking directly. Subtle increases in attention. Unexpected outreach. Longer conversations. greater emotional openness, a noticeable shift in the way they carry themselves around you, the kind of behavior that makes you pause and think, something is different, because something is. They are no longer viewing you through uncertainty. They are viewing you through recognition. Recognition of value. Recognition of rarity. Recognition of emotional safety. Recognition that what they feel with you has survived confusion, delay, interference, and distance, and still remains. That kind of persistence changes a person. It makes them ask whether what they have been resisting is not confusion at all, but destiny requiring readiness. And perhaps the most powerful realization of all is this: no matter who tried to insert themselves, no matter what distractions appeared, no matter how many delays unfolded, their heart kept circling back to you, not because of convenience, not because of fantasy, but because something about your connection refuses to fade. That is not something they can explain logically anymore. They have tried. They have rationalized. They have minimized. They have distracted themselves. And still, your presence remains. Your energy remains. Your impact remains. Your absence remains noticeable. That is when a person knows their feelings are deeper than temporary emotion. So if you have been wondering whether this connection still matters, whether your person still feels what once seemed unspoken, whether delays meant disinterest, whether outside interference weakened what was building, hear this clearly: no distraction erased what they feel. It clarified it. No interference replaced your significance. It revealed it. No delay destroyed the connection. It matured it. And now your person is standing face to face with a truth they can no longer comfortably avoid: the person who brings them the deepest peace. The person whose energy feels unlike anyone else's. The person their heart keeps returning to is you. That realization may not explode outward in one dramatic moment. It may unfold in stages. A conversation here, an admission there, a shift in behavior, a deeper honesty, a vulnerable confession when the timing finally breaks open. But when it happens, you will understand why everything took so long. Because they were not merely being delayed. They were being transformed. They had to learn discernment. They had to lose attraction to what was shallow. They had to experience contrast. They had to understand their own heart clearly enough to choose with intention instead of confusion. And now, that process is nearly complete. But one final thing remains before everything changes. Your person must decide whether fear will keep them silent, or whether truth matters more than comfort. And the decision they are approaching may be the one that alters the entire future of this connection.